Hey everyone, my name is Luke and welcome to my channel. I've got a little bit of a different type of video planned for you today. Actually, it's in response to a message from a subscriber who reached out asking if I'd be willing to make a video talking about the subject of dealing with burnout and loss of enjoyment, that kind of thing. And I thought that's actually a really tasty subject to touch upon. And I also thought maybe interweaves with something that I've got a lot of extra first-hand experience with, a general loss of enjoyment of life leading from other underlying issues. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this kind of thing. Let's be honest, it's a difficult subject to talk about, but I am well aware, because of messages that have came to me personally, that there are a lot of people out there suffering quietly. I know it because I was one of them for a long time. And if me making a video talking about this kind of general subject a little bit loosely and passing on any information that I might have, which could help someone even in a small 1% change in their quality of life, then it's completely worth making a fool of myself for and putting this out there. I'm well aware this isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea, so if you're clicking off right now, then I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. But for anybody who's interested in sticking around, hearing what I've got to say, I have prepared a couple of little talking points. Inevitably, I am going to miss some stuff off and not be able to go deep enough into certain subjects, just because I haven't fully prepared. I never write scripts for things like this. I never write scripts full stop. So that's where you come in, really. If I could ask you to be so kind as to, if you notice I've missed something or you have some information you'd like to share, some information you want to pass on to others that could help, then please leave a comment if you can. I'll personally read everything myself. I love to learn from other people, and maybe you'll help someone else out too, without even knowing. You know, I know that people browse through the comments. I do it myself. And you pick up bits here and there that might just make someone's day a little bit better. So let's try and help one another and turn this into a great big positivity fest. Why not? There's not enough of that going around. So the first of my talking points, I'm not going to waffle on any longer. Stuck in a rut. I think that's generally the cause of starting to feel them effects of burnout. And it's one of those things where looking from the outside in, you can really see like, oh yeah, it's obvious that's what's happening. But when you're living in the middle of it, things get a little bit cloudy. And let's say, to use astronomy as an example, even though we can be talking very generally about life here, you might go start off really enjoying astronomy, and then a few months pass, lots of sessions down the line, and then eventually you get a clear night and you look outside and you think, I can't really be bothered tonight actually. And there you go, it's kicked in. You've got a loss of enjoyment significant enough that you'd rather spend your time doing something else. Well, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, you know, that's fine. People change, tastes change. It does signal that, you know, something has changed. And if you're not happy with that fact, then the best way to change it, in my experience, is to do just that. Make a change. If you can recognize that you're starting to suffer a loss of enjoyment, figure out a new direction to take things. Be it just a slight change, maybe going from doing one thing to just a little side branch, like to use astronomy again. Maybe you're going to go from astrophotography to doing planetary astrophotography, or lunar for a little while, or visual. Anything like that can be just enough to keep the flame burning until it's got the energy to roar back up into full force. And that can be all that it takes. So maybe you need a break too. That also works, you know. But I always believe in the old saying, a change is as good as a rest. So having hobbies and positive outlets like that in your life is something you should absolutely forge onwards with and try and keep going if at all you can. Now, another good way, just to tack on to the end of that, is if you can figure out a way to share it with someone else, either be it through social media or something like that, do so. You know, it really helped me starting to share things, and it actually got completely out of hand with how much it helped me. I didn't expect any of the success that I've enjoyed, and more importantly, change in my life's quality that I've enjoyed to have came about, but it did. So you never know how the smallest little changes that you make in your life are going to affect you a couple of years down the line, when effects have started to have the chance to really compound into one another. That does bring me neatly onto my next point, actually, talking about social media. It can be a real double-edged sword. So it can be a massive positive, like it has been for me in my life. But at the same time, I have experienced the opposite side of the fence, where it can become a little bit of a negative influence on your life, depending on the type of media that you consume. Unfortunately, the stuff that's the most sensational, the best content, is the stuff that floats right to the top and gets served to everybody, the stuff that goes viral and serves the algorithm and the money-making overlords. Best of all, that's the stuff that gets pushed around, but it's very rarely carrying a positive message, and it tends to be the content that could potentially be the most damaging to someone who's maybe in a little bit of a less ironclad state of mind at the time, whether they realize it or not. And like I said, I've experienced this. My friends have also experienced this kind of thing. You're served a never-ending deluge of someone's highlight reel, be it their best images, their best videos, or amazing parties they're attending, things like that. We're all adults. We know that we shouldn't compare our lives to these things that you see on the screen. But whether you do it subconsciously or consciously, you inevitably probably will start to compare your life to theirs, and the unfortunate fact is you will come up short. Everybody does, because, you know, even the people making these clips and images and things like that, their life isn't like that day to day. All you ever see is the stuff that they publish, the stuff that they deem good enough. So you end up with this, unfortunately, skewed perception of reality if you're in that kind of frame of mind, and it can be extremely negative. So in that case, if you maybe think to yourself, it is having an effect on me, I feel worse after browsing Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is, you maybe need to cut that down a little bit for a while and see if you feel better. I know this seems like stupidly obvious advice, but as I said, if you're in the middle of it, your thoughts can be very clouded, so I thought it was well worth vocalizing it. Or simply changing the type of content that you consume. So rather than seeking out social media for simply entertainment's sake, you could use it for inspiration, perhaps, and use it to drive you towards your next project and your next part of positivity. Or you can use it to positively engage with other people. If you're going onto social media in a good frame of mind, with the intent to try and make other people's day a little bit better, let's say by viewing their image and hitting like and posting a nice comment or something like that. If you're doing that to a smaller creator, the chances are that little bit of time that you spend, one of your finite resources, you know, the amount of time and energy that you have in a day, if you spend it doing that, you're going to have a real positive impact on someone else's life, and that's a good spend of your time. If you do that same thing, that same interaction on a massive channel, you know, someone with 5 million subscribers or something like that, or millions of followers, given that same amount of time, same amount of your energy, no change happens in the world. Do you know what I mean? It's just one more drop in the ocean. They won't even see the comment, by all likelihood, as sad as that sounds. So whichever to you seems like the best way to spend your time. But yeah, I think it can be a force for positive as much as it can be a force for the negative. I've talked about that too long. Now, setting yourself up for enjoyment. That's another thing that can really help with general enjoyment of life, I've found, and also enjoying your hobbies to the max as well. So maybe to use astronomy again as a bit of an example. If you can imagine you're setting up for a visual astronomy session and you want to look at the planets or the moon or whatever, and there's someone doing roadworks across the road from you, and you know, maybe you've got a podcast on your phone, or your TV's on next to you, or a radio. Distractions, they all filter things out in your mind, and they enter your thoughts, and you end up just living less in the moment and enjoying the thing that you're actually meant to be enjoying less than you should. That sounds a bit of a mess, but I'm sure you can probably understand what I'm talking about. You know, if you set out to actually enjoy something, you should put your effort into doing that, and you will get more out of it. You'll end up with more spare time at the end of it, because if you're focused on doing what you're doing, you'll actually reach the end goal faster rather than being filled with distractions. So setting yourself up to enjoy things, that's another decent technique for dealing with, or at least halting burnout and helping yourself enjoy things and keep positive things going in your life. Mindfulness is the next little bullet point that I've written down. This might sound a little bit out there, but bear with me for just a minute. So mindfulness, what even is it? It's effectively, in my mind at least, just being in the moment and living in the moment. Just being alive and filtering out the rest of the stuff that's going on. You know, like we'll go back to astronomy because it's something I'm extremely familiar with, and I think I can leverage a story to give you a little example. So my favorite memory of astronomy in the last probably year, I reckon, happened just a few weeks ago, and it didn't even involve a telescope, a camera, anything electronic. It just involved the old Mark 1 eyeball and a cup of coffee, as it happens. Right before dawn, I went outside with a steaming hot mug and just started to watch the sun break. It started illuminating the sky, and I just really paid attention to it and watched it start to filter through the atmosphere and the last of the night's stars disappear. And I thought about it, how it made me feel at that time. The cold air even entering my lungs and filling me up. These little things that you usually filter out, even the bird song that started on that morning. If you try to force other things that usually bother you, maybe upcoming money worries, dental appointments, whatever nonsense it might be, filter them out for a while instead of the usual stuff, and focus on what's happening just for a few minutes a day. As silly as it might sound, it can end up being some of the best experiences you'll have all month, all year. I still think back to that moment and how it made me feel connected to things and just generally a happier person, and I want to go back to that again and again and again. When I first started trying to practice that kind of thing, it didn't feel like that, you know what I mean? It was the first few times I'm thinking, what am I doing? But the more that you do it, the better that you get at it. It's definitely a skill I think that you can develop over time, and it becomes easier and easier to kind of activate that mode of just putting other things out of your mind, and it's quite useful too. It can be a real boost in your mood and make your entire day or week better, just for the sake of investing a couple of minutes into it. On the note of investing a couple of minutes anyway, this isn't so much to do with burnout now, but more just in general helping yourself, if you're one of those people I was mentioning at the start of the video. If you aren't already, and if you are able to, regardless of age or real physical ability, try to exercise your body and your mind if you can in some capacity. So it could be just a 5-minute walk after dinner. Maybe do a few body weight squats, or if you can't work out your body, then work out your mind. Do a crossword, Sudoku, something like that. They're both tools intended to be used, and unfortunately most of us don't, but the reward system is there. It's hardwired into us as humans, so when you do start to use your tools to your advantage, everything in life, it really does become that little bit better. It's something I've noticed happen time and time again. Let's say if I stop exercising for whatever reason, be it just through sheer laziness or injury or whatever crops up, right, that stops me from doing it, I notice that just general enjoyment of life drops a little bit. Everything's just dulled that little bit more. Whereas if you're regularly exercising, it's got that little bit more of a glint and a sparkle. Trust me, it is worth trying if you can, even just 5 minutes a day. I would seriously advise you try it if you're suffering with mental health, that kind of thing. One final thing I've put on this list. I realize this is a very brief list and probably full of stuff that you already know, but I'm just trying to share what's helped me. This is a silly one, but make a to-do list. If you can fill out a few little things, just actual achievable goals that you want to tackle within that day or within that week or month or whatever it is, but stuff you can actually do, but otherwise unprompted probably wouldn't, and you do them, then again you're accessing that kind of reward system that's hardwired into you as a human. It's into us all. You're setting goals and you're achieving them. And every time you do that, you're making another little step towards success. You know what I mean? Putting another brick in the wall and getting to where you want to be, which is ultimately probably a happier place. You've only got one shot at life. You don't need me to tell you that. So, a day wasted, you're not getting it back. So if you can capitalize on every little advantage that you can give yourself, then do so. You owe it to yourself. That's probably about all I've got to say on this. I realize I've waffled on and on and on. Probably talked a load of nonsense, and most of you are likely clicked off or asleep by this point. But if I have helped you, whoever you are watching out there, then it was absolutely worth all of the awkwardness and embarrassment talking about this kind of thing. So, listen, that's about it from me. I'm not going to do no long goodbye. So, I appreciate you all. Nothing but love for everybody out there, regardless of who you are, where you are. I wish you well, and I hope that you have a fantastic day and that things are looking up for you. So, until the next time, look after yourselves, and it's an astronomy channel. Clear skies.